Oh man, I don't know. Looking at all of the issues that are taking place right now, for example, you got all of the news that's going around about the debt America's in, over $40 trillion in debt, and it's kind of mainstream, and it's got everybody kind of reacting and responding in a way that you kind of would expect. It's kind of going, it's kind of in the news cycle. It's probably distracting people away from something else that they should be paying attention to. But that for me is just another example. It's just another example of the decline of America. Like I said, that's pretty much what I'm gonna be talking about. I'm not going to stray away from that unless I'm talking about something that I can connect back to that overall theme and point that I feel like many are purposely misdiagnosing, and that's the fact that America is crumbling from within, and it's like the Ouroboros eating itself. And the people that are totally consumed with this machine, with the news cycle, with all of the culture wars, with the propaganda. Everybody who's consumed with that, they can't see it. They can't really. And a part of it is all of the handlers. You know what I mean? The handlers in the control opposition that are here with different shows and large platforms where they influence large groups of the population, and they feed them a bunch of poison and disinformation and just half baked talking points and stuff taken out of context and clipping and everything else. It just is it's all of that with probably 85% of people. You know, but those who are paying attention, and it doesn't take a genius. None of this is deep. None of this is deep. None of this is super magical. I'm not about to segue too much here, but I came up in all of the mysticism, in all of the occultism, and religion, and we can talk about that. We can talk and philosophize about all of that. We can do that when it's time to do that, when that's appropriate. But people have weaponized that because everything is commodified, and sold to us. When you're in a system of capitalism, that's what it is. Anything that can be taken and sold, it all it does is it's like a virus or something. You know what I mean? And it just feeds on the host. It's like a leech. That's what capitalism is. So it even takes revolutionary rhetoric, and it feeds on that, repackages that, turns it into something that it can sell, because that's what capitalism does. It just consumes until it's nothing left. But none of this is deep. I don't want to segue too much. None of this is deep. People make it deep. People turn it into mysticism. People turn it into this grand plan. And I can go on about that because in other topics I'll talk about universal law. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I can go and link that to this. Yes, but that isn't needed. We don't gotta do that. The answer is right here. And the answer isn't immigration. The answer isn't black people. The answer isn't women. The answer isn't culture wars. Those are symptoms of the issue. Those things get worse in a domino effect, in a compounding effect. They don't just end up this way because people are innately this way. No, it's a compounding effect. Everything that we talk about in the on the micro level, you see it, you see why it ends up this way on the macro level. It's a trickle down effect. It ain't just people are just divided because people are divided, or the division is the reason why America is crumbling. It's not the division. Those are just symptoms. And we can go on and on and on. Talk about the economy. Oh, corruption and capitalism. Capitalism isn't the reason why America is crumbling. It's a symptom. It's a symptom. All of these things are subcategories. They're all, you can put them all in little boxes or circles. Whether it's the social wars, whether it's the economy, whether it's morality, lack of character, lack of principles, lack of trust, corruption. We can put all of these things into little circles, right? And we can all live there and go on and on, because that's what YouTube is. That's what the news cycle is. That's what Reddit is. We just live in these echo chambers and these bubbles in our interests, and we go on about our grievances and the people we disagree with and who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. That's all a part of it as well. That's all a part of this large matrix also. This grand scheme also. All of that is a part of it. You know? But we can talk about all these things. We can talk about the declining birth rates. We can talk about these things, but again, people miss the point. All of this is going back to a point. People miss the point. The decline in birth rates aren't because people are lazy or people are selfish. People will go and they'll use their reasoning to get to one level of thinking, but they won't continue down that same trajectory. When all you got to do is continue down that same line of thought, right? And it'll lead you to the answer that you're looking for. So, for example, the reason why people aren't having kids maybe because they're selfish, or maybe because lack of tradition or whatever, lack of religion, lack of whatever. That may have something to do with it. But if you go down that same trajectory of thought, okay, why are people less moral? And then you get to asking yourself or giving yourself answers to that question. Okay, people are less moral because of corruption, or because of we live in a society where people just can't be trusted, or whatever. And then you take that and you continue down that same line of thought. So okay, why is society corrupt? Why has morality declined? Why has religion declined? Oh, okay, well, religion has declined because of modern science, and people finding out about prosperity pimps and corruption in the church, and whatever. And you'd be like, okay, well, why is that? Why did that happen? Why did modern science come about? Or why is there corruption in the church? And you just keep going down that same line of thought. And you don't need some grand scheme. You don't need some guru to tell you what the issues are. Like they say, follow the money. And that's one of the easiest ways to kind of see what's going on also, because if you kind of follow that line, and many people don't really do it. They say follow the money, but we're guided by our emotions. We're not guided by data and by objective reality. We're guided by our sensations and how, impulse responses and so on and so forth. But these things, to get to the point that I wanted to make, these things are all about product of an outgrowth in the current system that we're in. Capitalism. That's people use capitalism and they've weaponized that. Like I said earlier, capitalism isn't the reason; it's a symptom. So don't even think that with what I'm saying about capitalism. We've outgrown the literal system. We utilize socialism also here in America. A lot of people don't want to point that out, but the way that the system operates, we're outgrowing that. And all of these things that I mentioned are things that are affected when you're outgrowing, when you've reached the pinnacle of your success, and now you are beginning to enter a slope. There's a slope. So yeah, all of these things in a domino, in a compounding effect. So they don't just happen at one time. Different things affect other things that affect the obvious things, right? But we can go on and on. The American financial system, the trade, how we trade internationally, manufacturing. This isn't the heyday where everything is made in America. All of these things, we can just go on and on. It isn't just one thing, and people have a hard time just sitting and looking and having nuance and just looking at different things and be like, okay, all of these things are compounding on each other. The global conditions are different. This isn't World War II, right after World War II, when America was in its heyday and you had suburban America. All of the other countries were basically recovering, and America by default was the superpower. We've outgrown that stage in American homogeny, or whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to use for it, bro. Whatever word you want to do, we've outgrown that, and America can't stomach it. They can't accept it. So you have all of this that you see on social media, on a 24/7 news cycle, because people are confused, people are angry, people don't know what's going on, people don't have the attention span to really pay attention to what's going on. People are being misled and guided by grifters and disinformation agents, and in a system of unchecked capitalism where the only objective is profit by any means. Therefore, even your confusion, even your fear, everything is monetized. And then you got the compound on top of everything that I discussed. You got the conspiracy theories. You got troll farms, people who manufacture division, people who manufacture these conspiracy theories to confuse the masses even more, to cause even more dysfunction, chaos. And the people, they can't seem to see it. They can't seem to identify the source. We point at this group, we point at that group, we point at the elite, even the concept. And I made a video. I didn't really, on the video, I didn't do it justice what I was trying to say. I didn't really have the language for it. But everything that we identify as the culprit or the reason is just one piece of the puzzle. It's just one little piece. Even the elite, even this concept of the cabal and conspiracy theories about the Epstein class, and all of these things are just one piece of the puzzle. Israel, it's all of it. It's the entirety of the system. The entirety of the system. The system in its entirety is being flipped on its head. We talk about rigged elections and paid off politicians. You don't even need the rigged election, really, if you already control the political class. But I had to pause, so I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was just talking about. But generally, oh, okay, yeah. Then you got these conspiracy theories, and yeah, I was talking about a few years ago. I made a video or something talking about there is no deep state or whatever. And I'm sure if I had like a large platform or something like that, that would have gotten so much hate. People would have been just like, he don't know what he's talking about, or he's limited information. I've looked up every conspiracy theory. I was a conspiracy theorist dude. Everything from the believable to the more out there, like alien conspiracy theories and that type of stuff, all the way down to, stuff, practical stuff like JFK conspiracy theories. So I was into that. Like I said, I looked into the occult. I was into the occult and mysticism and all different types of philosophies. And, so this isn't coming from a closed off perspective. I've literally looked into this stuff so to the point where I can see how a lot of this stuff can't coexist with each other. It's literally not all of the theories, but a lot of these theories. Yes, a lot of them are just put there. They're there. So you'll constantly just be chasing your tail for life, going crazy. I honestly think that they're placed there. Some of these theories are placed there by a controlled opposition, by people who never had the intention, people with large platforms. Because they all say the same thing. They all say they're being banned or they're being shadow banned. But yet you got 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people following you. You're being funded or sponsored by major companies, but you're spreading some of this obscure stuff. It's a market. Y'all can't see that it's a whole market. Like you feel what I'm saying? Like it's a whole, just like people are into DIYs or anything. It's a market for these conspiracy theories, because it's just something that people can use to escape from the real world at the end of the day. It's something that other people, they create identity out of it. Not all of them. I'm not saying all of them. And I'm not saying that some of these theories aren't linked to other larger conspiracies. But, I got that kind of out of a lot of these theories, that they really didn't have an end to it. They were just put there so you will essentially be chasing your tail and be a non-threat in your life, because a lot of times, a lot of these beliefs, they take you away from your actual life and they send you down some rabbit hole, and you're not even functional. You're no longer even functional. And, that's when you start seeing these people who, whether they're in the conscious community, some far right conspiracy, ideal, or some militant conspiracy theory. It don't matter. It produces all of the same effects. That's the funny part about it. It produces the same effects. That's how okay, this isn't leading anywhere. This is a part of it too. This is a part of the whole economy, right? But, I'm going to start doing kind of these long form videos whenever, I have a brain dump. I want to put out a brain dump rather, because we miss it though. That's my point. That's kind of my point in this whole conversation, is people miss it and they get dialed in, tunnel vision on one thing, the cabal, Israel, the deep state, that you've missed so many other things. You missed private companies. You missed private banks. You've missed the ultra wealthy. You've missed other country. You missed China. You missed you missed so many things because you're so dialed in on the deep state or aliens. You aren't even able to think objectively, really. And that's kind of my point of this video. Like, we lose sight on the source of the collapse of America. But that's what I got. This is a part of an outgrowth, a simple outgrowth of the systems in so it can be complex. It's not deep, but in multiple sectors of our society, socially, financially, geographically, etc., etc. That's the answer. It's multiple things. That's what I got.